I solemnly swear that I am up to no good.
Hey everybody, welcome to a very special edition of Tales from Godric's Hollow. That's right, this is another round of Butterbeer Banter. Matt and I sitting around the table, sipping our butterbeers, shooting the breeze, talking about things in the world of Harry Potter that doesn't necessarily coincide with the readings of the books that we are currently working our way through. This is our opportunity to just talk about other things going on with Harry Potter that we just can't fit into the regular shows. You know, I am one of your hosts. I am the Muggle of the show. I am Josh Brown. I am joined by the man who has taken me on this extraordinary journey through the magical world that is Harry Potter. The man who first introduced me to the wizarding world of Harry Potter, Matt Sonnenberg.
How's it going tonight?
It's going pretty good, Matt. And when I say introduce me to the wizarding world of Harry Potter, I mean that quite literally.
Quite literally, yes. That was really, your first hit of Harry Potter was what we're talking about tonight, down in Universal Studios.
Yep.
And I tried to explain a few things gradually there, but they still didn't have much context. They didn't make a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
But now things are starting to change, and you're starting to be able to take part in and enjoy the Harry Potter culture that is literally all around you.
Right. Again, if you're new to the Butterbeer Banter episodes, this is just going to be us kind of freestyling it. We don't have a script. We don't have a guideline of what talking points we're going to hit on. It's just going to be us just kind of going back and forth on a specific topic. Each time we do one of these Butterbeer episodes, we pick something new to talk about, something that has come to us, like the last one we did, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. We had both seen the film. We both wanted to talk about it. This time is something that hasn't happened to us recently, but we've kind of had it in our back pocket waiting to talk about it because it is worthy of a full discussion. We have mentioned it several times on episodes before, but we are going to be talking about the wizarding world of Harry Potter in Universal Studios. Now, for me personally, we're only going to be talking about the Hollywood version, but Matt, you have been to the Orlando site as well, so you will be able to add insight as far as what's going on down there in Florida. But mainly this is just going to be us kind of just talking about the experiences that we've had. So when was the first time you went to Wizarding World, Matt?
My first experience was actually in Orlando.
Okay.
Let's see, this would have been, well, it wasn't last year, 2 years. Must have been, we must be going on 3 years ago. Is that right? Maybe, yeah. I think it was 3 years ago. Each year, my wife and I, in April, both of our birthdays and our wedding anniversary fall within 1 week.
Oh, okay.
So we always take that week off.
Sure.
And do something. It's usually a trip of some sort. So we did take a trip down to Florida, and we spent, I think this particular trip, we spent some time down in the Keys.
Okay.
My wife likes to scuba dive, so that's a great place for that.
Yeah, it's a prime spot for scuba diving.
Yeah. But then we did head up to Orlando afterwards and hit up Universal Studios there.
Was that close after it opens? Because Wizarding World hasn't been open that long, has it?
Yeah. I mean, it's relatively new, I guess you could say, but it's been around for years before that.
Oh, okay. And I have no idea what I'm talking about. Disregard everything I say.
It's all good.
Okay, so when was your first time to Hollywood?
My first time to Hollywood was with you, actually.
Oh wow, I did not know that. I don't think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I knew you had been to the Orlando one, but I didn't realize that was your first time there to Hollywood.
Well, the one in Hollywood opened just a couple months before we were there.
Really?
Like that was new. Okay. So I just pulled it up here. The one in Universal Orlando, the very first part of it, like they built it in two parts. So the one Islands of Adventure, that's one of their parks down there. That was the first part that was built in 2010.
Mm-hmm.
Then they built the second part. They added Diagon Alley in 2014. So that was pretty new when I went there.
Okay.
The addition was pretty new.
Sure.
But Universal Hollywood didn't add theirs until April of 2016. So it just opened last year.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I did not realize it was that new. But then again,
yeah, that's why Jason and I were so excited
Gotcha.
that they had opened it, and it's like we got to hit it up because we're out there now.
See, like that just goes to show how much I was actually paying attention to Harry Potter. Like it could have been open a month or a decade at that point, and it would have been, I wouldn't have known either way.
Sure.
So yeah, so it was June of this last year, 2016, when we went down for the E3 convention. After spending a couple days there, we decided to have some fun days while we were in the area. The first of which we spent at Universal Studios Hollywood and the Wizarding World of Harry Potter.
Yep.
As you alluded to before, this was an experience mostly for you and Jason. Like, you guys were super stoked to go.
Yep.
I was along for the ride. Like, I didn't want to yuck your yum in any way, shape, or form. Like, I wanted to go to Universal Studios. I was super excited for Jurassic Park. Like, I'm not even going to joke around about it. Like,
it's true.
Yeah.
You did mention that a few times.
Yeah. Jurassic Park was, like, my main reason for going there. I had heard of some other things that were there. But, like, the fact that the Wizarding World of Harry Potter was there was not exciting for me, per se. But I was super excited for you guys because of how excited you were.
Yeah.
And
I don't want to say this is exactly how you were feeling at the moment, but generally speaking, just watching someone be excited or be passionate about something, even if you have no idea what it is,
right,
can be pretty exciting.
Oh, absolutely. I was definitely feeding off of your guys' energy. Couple that with the fact that we had a butterbeer pretty much right out the gate.
Oh, yeah. You got to start the day out right.
Instant sugar high, like that hit hard real quick. And it was hard to be down on the day after drinking your first butterbeer.
I guess that's their trick.
Yeah. Whew, it worked. So we walk in to the Wizarding World, right?
Yes.
Automatically, like, that it's different than the Orlando version.
Yeah, that's the first thing I noticed. Like, I think it was almost built the reverse. Like the shops were on the different sides of the street. Like that, at least some of them were.
Sure.
Like I think we came in what I consider the front way, and the Hogwarts Express was right there.
To the right, yeah.
Yeah, and so I think that was like in the same place. So I'm like, okay, this is all good. But then I started walking down the street, and I'm like, but that was over there, and that was over there, and so it was a little confusing. I couldn't tell you exactly where everything was, but
sure. It didn't feel exactly the same, is what you're saying.
I mean, it felt basically the same because ultimately, just big picture. Like, you walk in, you see Hogwarts Express, you see shops on both sides, and then the one thing they didn't change, obviously, is the castle straight ahead.
Right.
Like, that's something I don't think they're ever going to change. I'm sure, but like there is a Wizarding World of Harry Potter in Japan too, I believe, and I bet you if you go there, You walk in through the gates, you see the Hogwarts Express, and you can see the castle straight ahead.
Sure. Well, that's a big set piece.
Exactly. It's got to be that way. It's kind of like in Disney, straight ahead, there's a castle.
Yeah.
When you walk in, you'll be able to see it.
Right. Like Jurassic Park, the big gates, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's just there. You know where you're at immediately. Did you feel any sort of like disappointment that it was different, that it was smaller, it wasn't as fleshed out as the Orlando one? Like, I mean, obviously, like, this is an amazing place for you to be, like, regardless of, like, in comparison to what else it looks like anywhere else, but was there, like, some disappointment? Like, oh, this isn't quite the same.
Not too much, because, like, when we walked in the first time, like, so, I don't know, I kind of mentioned this earlier, but down in Orlando, the two parts of it are technically in two different parks.
Oh,
so
okay.
So Hogsmeade, the part you saw in Hollywood, is in Islands of Adventure, and Diagon Alley is actually in Universal Studios.
Gotcha.
So, like, the first day when I went, I'm trying to remember which one. No, I think I did hit up Diagon Alley first. But in any case, the point being that, like, just that section, just Hogsmeade, is pretty much identical to half of what's down there. So if you're like, that's all you can see at one point.
Sure.
You actually have to take a train ride to get to the other park to get to Diagon
it's
Alley.
that far apart.
Yeah, I like, you can walk it, but the way. Okay, so you could argue this either way. Either this is where they had room in the park to expand, or they purposely put it in the back of the park so you have to walk past everything else to get to it, because they know that's what everybody's there for.
Sure, yeah.
Like, Harry Potter is the reason Universal Studios is still in existence.
Sure, gotta throw some distractions along the way.
Yeah, so in both of these parks, they put the Harry Potter attractions in the back, and so you can go out of the park, go walk, 3 blocks down to the entrance of the other park, and go in and go all the way to the back of the park again and find the other part. But in most cases, it is faster to take the Hogwarts Express between the two parts of the park.
Oh, they actually have the Hogwarts Express running between the two?
Oh, yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, they do.
Nice touch.
Absolutely. I mean, you go in, through... Let's see, what would be through one end is King's Cross Station, and the other end then. So I think it'd be King's Cross is in Diagon Alley, and then because you're in London, and then on the other end it's what do they call it? I'm totally blanking.
Hogwarts.
Anyway, yeah, the Hogwarts stop. Where you are by Hogsmeade there.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. I mean, it'd probably be cool if they had the night bus running between the two.
Did they have a night bus? No, they didn't have a night bus.
Mm-mm.
Orlando, they have a night bus.
Okay, like just as a prop thing.
Yeah.
Like they had the Express at Hollywood just sitting there.
Yeah, like, you can't ride it. It's not an attraction per se.
Sure.
It's a set piece you can take pictures by. You can look at. It's a full size night bus.
Okay.
But they only allow you, like, you can walk up to, like, the driver's seat and, like, look back onto the bus. Like,
Sure.
they have everything set up, but it's fenced off.
That makes sense. They don't want
So you can't. Yeah, you can't go
gym.
onto the bus, but. Yeah.
Huh. That's cool.
Yeah, it's still nice. I mean, it's got that, violent purple color.
Sure. As only a night bus should be.
Yes.
So when we walked in, I mean, everybody's excited. Everybody's giddy. It was early in the morning. It was pretty quiet and empty at that point. I mean.
Yeah. That's one of the keys to doing this right.
Yeah. We had great weather. It was fantastic. But, like, you walk in, I see the train. I'm like, I know there's a train in Harry Potter. I don't know, any significance whatsoever. But And here's the thing. I went in just trying to enjoy as much as I could without really asking for any context of anything.
Yeah.
Like, I could have been that guy and just, Matt, what's that?
this? What's
Matt,
this?
what does this do? Matt, who's that? Matt, why is that important? Matt, why is this? Why should I, like, and I didn't. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to, granted, I think you would have loved to sit there and explain every little detail as we walk through that park.
You know I would.
You would have been the best tour guide, but we wouldn't have left. Like, that would have been the entire day. Because once I got you started, it would have been done for. But I didn't want to do that. Like, I wanted you guys to enjoy it as it was. That's why I tried to be as positive and upbeat about the whole thing without... I might have been a little cynical for the sake of amusement, entertainment. You guys knew that I it's not that I wasn't into it. I just didn't care about it.
Yep.
In any way.
It wasn't your thing. You hadn't read books. You hadn't seen the movies. You weren't in the same boat that we were.
Yeah. I was having a good time. I wasn't miserable. I wasn't pouting or anything like that. I was just going with the flow, Could have been anything I was a part of. I just knew Butterbeer was mighty fine, and I was just trying to feed off your energy, and I think that definitely helped throughout our trip there. I remember when we were going through Hogwarts Castle and we were going to the big scary ride. Walking through the castle, there's stuff going on.
There's a lot of stuff going on. Yeah.
For a complete 100% muggle that knows nothing about anything, it was whatever. Yeah. It meant nothing to me. It wasn't until we got to like what I would assume to be like the main hall.
Sure.
Maybe I don't know actually what it was supposed to represent because there was so much stuff going on. But where they have the projection of the trio up in the balcony.
Yes.
And they're talking down to you and telling you what to look out for and whatnot. Jason turned to me. He was like, "Do you even know who those guys are?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's the characters from the book." He's like, "Yeah, do you know their names?" I'm like, "Well, I know Harry Potter." He's like, "Yeah, okay, obviously." He was like, "What about the other two?" Now, I had heard Hermione's name, right?
Sure.
I had only known Hermione's name, really, because Val, who was not on the trip with us, asked me to get her a Hermione wand.
Yeah.
So, naturally, I'm like, okay, who's Hermione? What should I be looking out for? She's like, she's the main girl in the book. Like, duh. And I was like, okay, that means nothing to me, but I know who you're talking about. So, knowing that she's like the main character, and then I see this trio of kids standing up there, I'm like, okay, that's probably Hermione. When it came to Ron, though, boo, boy, I was not even close, Matt.
Yeah.
Do you remember the name I used?
I don't.
I want to say I used Todd.
It's very possible.
I
remember you kind of having a good laugh at it.
I genuinely did not know the kid's name.
Yeah.
No frame of reference whatsoever. And there are some amazing things going on in that big room. I'm pretty sure there's like a dragon skeleton hanging from the ceiling.
Yeah, there's a skeleton of sorts. Yeah.
I think so. I think it might be a dragon. I don't know. Maybe it's a creature I don't know about that you're not going to tell me. But like all this cool stuff is happening. Everybody's like just oohing and awing and looking and taking pictures. I'm like, sure, whatever. I'm not a big ride guy, so once we got to that point, I was starting to get a little anxious.
Yeah.
And antsy about getting on the ride.
As you do.
Yeah. So pretty much anything that happened after that room, gone. Out of sight, out of mind.
Yep.
But like once we went on the ride, I'm like, okay, I know about, them flying around on brooms with a game, but whatever. I don't know what's going on here. That ride takes you through a lot of different things.
It does. It's kind of a mashup of a lot of, I mean, they base these scenes that we see more so on the movies than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
But in any case, it's really just a mashup of all the books.
Right.
They kind of make up their own little story, but you couldn't really nail it down and say, oh, they were telling us the story of the first book.
Yeah. Which, you know, for somebody who doesn't know anything about the story of the books, there's not a lot of context there. Kind of dangerous if you know some things, but you're trying to avoid spoilers.
A little bit, I suppose, but I think you're still gonna run into that wall of, oh, this is probably something important, but I don't know what it means or where it's gonna show up or what the actual significance of it is.
Right. Good thing is
because I go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Like the one thing I can remember is like they have giant spiders.
Oh God, yes.
and like before you had read books, you would have had no idea that there were giant spiders.
No, but also, I guess I didn't know for sure if there were just giant spiders or if they were just spiders that, because you were so close to them, looked bigger than, you know, like, I don't know if the spiders that they had in the ride were actually supposed to represent giant spiders or just spiders in general, you know.
Or if it was more Honey, I Shrunk Your Kid style and everything is big.
In this world, who knows, right?
Or A Bug's Life or something like that, where it's like, yeah, everything looks bigger because you're scaled down.
Sure. So I knew there were spiders in play at some point, but that was also about the same time when I started closing my eyes.
Yep.
Because I was like, you know what? I don't need this. I'm not here for a spider attraction, you know? I did catch a glimpse of a tree. And I remember the tree very vividly. The brief glance that I got. But again, with no context, it's just a tree, you know?
Yep.
Maybe swaying in the wind. You know? You don't know what's going on.
Not so much.
Come to find out, it's a Whomping Willow trying to crush you.
It's true.
But again, without context, it's just a tree. I'm sure there's some other things that happened in that ride, Matt. But again, I started closing my eyes. I was just like, okay, let's just get to the end of this. I want to say there was fire at one point, but I don't know where the fire came from. I think I just felt heat.
Yep.
So maybe a dragon? Maybe? I don't know. I mean, we know there's dragons in this world, so maybe.
They've been mentioned, yeah.
But again, I didn't see the cause of the fire. Maybe Hogwarts goes up in flames. I don't know. But I definitely felt fire at one point. And then I remember towards the end racing a blonde kid on a broom.
Sure.
And I was like, okay, sure. Just another kid, right? Of course. Now I know he's like the worst of the worst, but
yeah, not just another kid.
Yeah. So yeah, like that was my experience on the ride. Like you guys were excited. I dealt with the ride as best as I possibly could. I got through it. I didn't make him stop halfway and let me off. There were some cool effects in it. But I didn't gain a lot of anything from it, you know?
Sure.
Yeah. What do you think of the ride?
I enjoy it. It, like I said, it doesn't necessarily tell any one story, so I can't judge it by that. It's kind of its own thing, but there are definitely a number of elements from all the books and movies that are nice to see, and they do their thing that has been their thing for probably the past decade or so, where they try to get this like 4D feeling where you get, like you said, the heat from the flames, or they'll spray water at you, or puffs of air, or give you all these different sensations. And so like there's a lot of that built into there because that's what they can do.
Yeah.
As far as it being an it's more or less an indoor roller coaster.
Pretty much, yeah. It definitely it was way more extensive than a lot of the other rides at Universal, which just relied on 3D visuals with some like effects to make it seem like there was movement.
Yeah. Like this ride in particular, it's there are a fair amount of like animatronic stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and then when it's not, it's usually like 3D projections.
Right. But yeah, like Universal Studios relies heavily on the 3D effects of, like the Simpsons ride per se, like you're sitting in a roller coaster car and it rocks back and forth, like water will splash, but
yeah, that one in particular, like you go nowhere. Like
No,
the Harry
yeah.
Potter one, like they take you around the space that they have. They
Right.
whip you around, and like everything is on essentially a conveyor belt.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're taking you through different places. But yeah, like you said, like the Simpsons one, that one really surprised me. It's like, yeah, they can do so much, just like tilting you around and showing you different images. It's like, yeah, you didn't go anywhere.
Right. It was fun for what it was, but at the same time, like, it's almost hard to qualify that as a ride, So I think after that, that's when we officially got our first Butterbeers, was after the ride, right?
Yeah, because that's the first thing you do. If you haven't been there, first thing you want to do, get into the park, go straight back to the castle, get on the ride. That's when the line's going to be the absolute shortest.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be able to get on relatively quickly,
Mm-hmm.
and do that, get that out of the way. You can always go back later if you want, but that's the best time to do it. And then after that, work your way to the Butterbeer.
There was no working our way. We beelined it, Matt. It was straight for the Butterbeer.
Yeah. Okay. There's something else too that I'm pretty sure was exactly the same in Orlando and Hollywood, is the positions of the Butterbeer carts.
Okay.
I'm almost certain they are in the exact same spots.
Very strategic.
Yes.
Yeah. Which I appreciate. Now, at the Hollywood one, they were only offering, unfortunately, the regular cold version of the Butterbeer and the slushy version of the Butterbeer.
The frozen.
Yeah, the frozen. I heard that they had started the hot version of the Butterbeer this past fall, late fall, after we went there.
Did they actually get it started?
Yeah, when Val and I were there, they did, but the line for it was so long because it was such a cold day. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But when we went, it was cold and it was rainy, so that's the only thing that people wanted.
Yep.
So, and they only sold it out of the 3 broomsticks.
Yeah.
Bar, pub area. So that was kind of a bummer because we were going for the 5 versions of Butterbeer that they offer. Was it 5?
Yeah. Well, we thought it was 5, and then we actually learned about a new one while we were down there, so that made it 6.
That's right.
Yeah.
But they only offered 4 of them.
It's true.
4 of the 6. They did not have the ice cream Butterbeer, and they did not have the hot Butterbeer. Yep. But they did have the Butterbeer Fudge, which was phenomenal.
Yeah, the Butterbeer Fudge, neither Jason or I knew about.
Yeah.
That was new to all of us.
And then that pudding version of the Butterbeer.
Yes.
That we got at the 3 Broomsticks with our lunch.
Yep.
I'm pretty convinced that any way you get Butterbeer, it's going to be good.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, it's just that distinct flavor that you want, and whatever form you want to put it in, we'll eat it up.
Yeah. So let's see. We got our first cups of Butterbeer. I think that's kind of when we started just meandering around to the different gift shops and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, because honestly, that's what it is. Both, if you think about it, both Hogsmeade, the description you've gotten of Hogsmeade from the book so far, what is it?
No, just a street with a bunch of shops.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But like we know it's an entire town,
right?
But the descriptions we get are of shops and, well, restaurants or bars.
Right.
So that's about all they have there. Like they kind of have to come up with these rides because technically, like the the first ride we went on, the Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey, which takes place in the castle that they have there.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's not actually technically part of Hogsmeade even.
Right.
Like
Right.
that's back at Hogwarts. That's separate. So like they really had to kind of come up with these things to fit rides into it.
Sure. They also have Flight of the Hippogriff,
It's true.
which even after going there a second time, still didn't know what a hippogriff was, so I did not know what to think of it.
Yeah. Does it make a little more sense now?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Definitely didn't look like a ride like I was interested in going on, but I appreciate the fact that they made a ride around a hippogriff.
Honestly, I think you'd be okay with it.
Yeah, I mean, just yeah, I'd be okay. I know I'd be able to handle it okay.
Yeah.
Just more like, is it worth my time waiting in line for this ride? You know,
Generally speaking, in my experience, at least my limited experience, that ride either has a shorter line or at least it moves a lot faster
sure.
because they can fit a lot of people into each. So I mean, it's a roller coaster. They can fit more than the 4 people per car that you
Right.
get in the castle ride.
Mm-hmm.
So they're whipping through people, and the ride's not all that long, so they can keep going.
That's true. Well, maybe next time I go, I'll ride a hippogriff.
Yeah.
And live to
Just
tell
to say
about
you
it.
had.
Yeah, kind of have to.
Yep.
One thing that like specifically stands out in my mind from our first trip was, in one of the gift shops, watching a book with teeth caged up and aggressively just start going crazy.
Yes.
I thought that was the weirdest thing ever.
It is kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't read the books, definitely.
Yeah. I don't remember asking anybody about it. But it was definitely something I wasn't expecting to see, you know? Kind of threw me off.
It'd be something that's kind of hard to explain too. Like, what do I tell you? Like, it's a textbook.
Right, yeah.
And that's not going to make much sense.
Oh, there's this half-giant who teaches his class, and yeah, the whole explanation, I just would have been, okay, Matt, whatever, stop it.
Yes.
But I distinctly remember it, and like how fascinated I was by it. I also remember like everybody was like super excited about owls because like they have the owl post there.
Yep.
They have tons of owls that you could buy, and I'm like, what? What's the big deal about owls? I don't understand the owl thing, you know?
Owls are a big deal.
Turns out they are, yeah. Turns out they are, Matt.
Very much.
We ate lunch at the Three Broomsticks, like I said. In my head, I don't feel like the Three Broomsticks in the book matches the Three Broomsticks that we have there.
I would agree.
Yeah. But they kind of did what they were able to do with that as far as the restaurant's concerned.
Yeah. So the architecture is probably about the same,
Mm-hmm.
but I've always pictured Three Broomsticks not quite like a hole in the wall, but definitely, a step above that. But it's still just a little bar,
Yeah.
essentially. It's not a full eatery
Right.
restaurant that they made it into.
Mhm.
So, but since it is one of very few food-based locations
Mhm.
that we know of, and especially within the Hogsmeade locale, that's the best they could go with, and I think it's very much appreciated by fans.
Yeah.
That they gave us an option to eat within the Wizarding World of Harry Potter.
Yeah, because it would be a bummer to leave and have to go eat somewhere else at the park.
Yeah, I like because they gave us like the butterbeer and they have the pumpkin juice and that type of thing, available, and they have all like the candy shop, but it still just doesn't feel right because, as you've mentioned a couple times during the podcast, like we always get these lavish descriptions of all the meals and feasts that they get.
Mm-hmm.
And so we get all these descriptions of food and more food, and to have to go somewhere else to eat when it's like we know there's food in the wizarding world. Like they eat food too. I want to eat some of that food.
Right.
And so it just seems right that they found a way to work that in, even if it's not from the location that, like, it'd be great if we could go to the castle, into the Great Hall.
That's what I was just thinking. That would be the only thing that could be better.
Yeah,
and just have like just giant tables, and you just sit next to whoever you sit next to. You know, no individual tables. Just make it community seating here.
And if food just magically appeared, and
well, I mean, maybe you're going a little bit too far, but you know, like having the candles floating and all that, like.
They could definitely make something with that work with projections and such. Like they could figure that out and get the Great Hall pretty close.
Sadly, though, there would be one giant empty table every time, all day, every day.
Yes,
you know, nobody's sitting at Ravenclaw table.
Hey,
Matt, you even wouldn't. You'd be the only one there.
I would do it. I would sit on the table.
You would do it just to spite me.
Yep.
Everybody else is pretty proud about their house, but again, when I went there a second time and I'm conscious of things, there was no Ravenclaw representation at all, anywhere to be found. So
yeah, I'm gonna have to change that.
Yeah, well, I mean, you need to talk to your house, Matt. They're doing a very bad job at house representation. Apparently. Let's see. I feel like there's something else big. I did pay attention to a wanted poster outside of the Three Broomsticks.
Did you?
I did. By the name of Sirius Black.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if it actually says his name on the wanted poster. So maybe I'm just assuming that it's Sirius Black based on the fact that there was definitely a wanted poster of Sirius Black in this third book that we're reading through. So
I'm pretty sure it is.
Okay. I mean, maybe I'm just making the assumption, but I just don't feel like there's a whole lot of wanted posters going on here.
Yeah, not so much.
He seems to be the prisoner of Azkaban, so but I definitely paid attention to that, and I was just like, I don't know who that is, and I don't know why I should care. But even the second time, I was just like, well, that's somebody.
Yep.
You know, like, still doesn't mean anything to me.
Still haven't gotten there, but I believe there is one big area you're missing.
Yeah. Ollivanders.
There you go.
Oh, man. That might have been my favorite part the first time around.
It's pretty magical.
Yeah. I didn't know what to expect. I had known very, 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 very little about Harry Potter at this point. There was one thing I knew, and that was just because of the internet and memes and such. That was, you don't pick the wand picks you.
Yes.
Right? So, as we're in Ollivanders and we're getting ready for the presentation that's about to happen, I remember leaning over to Jason it was after the whole thing. We went into the wand shop, and he was like, "What wand do you want to get? Are you getting a wand?" I'm like, "Jason, I don't choose the wand. The wand chooses me." And he's like, "Oh my God, you know something." But the whole Ollivander presentation, like the whole thing with the kid and like all the magic that happens as Ollivander's trying to find the wand that is speaking the most to the kid that he selected from the group. It was a really fun thing to witness, to be a part of.
Yeah, they definitely worked up a good little show. It's not too long, which it doesn't need to be. It's just long enough, but it, especially for the kids that are there, even if they're not directly involved with it, like I thought it was awesome when I was there, just because I had more or less grown up with it.
Sure.
And it's like, I got to see it live in person with my own
You were
eyes.
kind of secretly wishing he would pick you.
Yeah.
I did have a gripe about the whole thing, though.
Yeah.
And that is the business aspect of the presentation.
Sure.
Where once everything has happened and Ollivander, finds the wand that goes to the kid, and the kid confirms it by using the proper spell, and everything's good, and the doors open, and everybody's allowed to go peruse the wand shop as they see fit. They ask the kid and the parents to hang back a little bit, and that's when they do the hard sell of the wand.
Yeah, and that, honestly, I was not aware of.
Yeah. That bummed me out a little bit,
Yep.
That wand shop has thousands of wands in it. And I understand that's an expense that, would be hard to justify. But at the same time, you would think that, they could maybe pick not one of the $50 or $60 wands that they're selling, and maybe have a lesser quality wand that they could just give out to the kids that they select.
Sure.
Sure. Here's your souvenir for participating in this.
You can look at that a lot of ways, though, because there is absolutely no way those wands cost them $50 to produce.
Oh, no, 100% not.
They are making a huge profit on each and every one of those wands.
Sure.
So giving them away, they're not actually losing as much as, they're not losing full retail value.
Right.
So that's one thing. I will give them that, like I said, the presentation is not all that long, and they are doing it constantly throughout the day. Mm-hmm. So they would be giving away dozens and dozens of wands each and every day. Mm-hmm. So I will give them that. It would come out to be a lot of wands that they give away, and which could ultimately result in a lot of missed sales, because the parents will be like, oh, well, you got this free wand that you don't need to buy one.
Right.
So there's a lot of ways you can look at that, but like I said, they could either have a lower quality wand that they give away for free, mm-hmm. or even just 50% off or something. A nice discount. Here's a coupon to go buy one. That you give those parents any sort of discount, and they're almost guaranteed to buy one.
Right.
You tried to hard sell them at full price, I think they're a lot less likely to buy it, but a lot of them probably do, especially with their kids standing right there.
That's the thing, and it bums me out to think about the possibility of a kid going through this whole magical experience, and the kids are eating it up. They are absolutely in love with this thing. You see so many kids dressed up in the robes, and they are full on, hey, I'm a wizard in training,
Yeah.
And to get to this point and go through this whole presentation and have the wand pick you, and you're able to perform magic in the shop, and this is a mind-blowing experience, and then your parents be like, no, we can't afford that, or no, we're not going to buy that because we're going to spend our money elsewhere or whatever. How bummed out you would be if you were a kid that had to deal with that,
Yeah, and I'm sure it does happen a couple times a day.
Oh yeah,
that least. The parents say no.
That's why, I just wish that's not even an issue. It wouldn't ever be a pressure on the parents to do that to avoid super bumming out your kid. Now, granted, some kids would be able to take it better than others, and whatnot, but you run that risk every time, and if you're the parents and you've never done this before, you've never seen it happen, you don't know what's going to happen, you go through this whole thing, and then they pull you aside and okay, now you got to pay for this. That would be kind of off-putting immediately.
That's one of those things I think we've said too. We had this discussion that if this was Disney, you wouldn't see that happening.
No, never.
There are things that I think the park could have been just as great if Disney had bought the rights.
Sure.
And possibly even better in many respects. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of glad that Universal got it, because it really gave them something to hang their hat on and be proud of and draw in customers. And so they really put some time and effort into making it great.
Right.
But at the same time, then they think it's like people aren't going to say no to Harry Potter, so we can do whatever we want, and they're just going to keep giving us money.
Right. And that's the difference with the business mentality between the Disney and the Universal Studios, where Universal Studios looks at that individual sale as being important. Like everything that we sell, every dollar that comes in is important to the bottom line. Disney is just like, you know what? We're playing the long game here. You know, if we make a kid's experience magical just one time, they're going to be a lifelong Disney fan. They're going to grow up fans of Disney. They're going to want to come back. When they get older, they're going to want to bring their kids back because they had this amazing one-time experience that they've been thinking about and holding on to their entire life. Like, look at our friend Brett, right? Who, as a kid, he went to Epcot, and it blew his mind. Like, he had never experienced anything like that before. And that experience was so magical to him personally. As he was growing up, he told himself, I'm going to work for Disney one day. And here he is. He just celebrated his 15th year working for Disney, working his way up as, you know, up the food chain as far as Disney is concerned. Because, and you ask him anytime, every single time, he will always go back to that first moment he had at Epcot. You know, whatever it was that grabbed him, it grabbed him for life. And I feel like Disney plays that long game with everybody. They go for the lifetime fans. They don't go for the quick sale immediately. We need a few bucks right now.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. It's I think kind of how they started, and it's showing it works for them.
Yeah. So I mean, that was my biggest gripe about the whole thing. Just seeing the business side of it kind of took the magic away just a little bit. Again, I was there kind of like as an outside observer anyway. But like I just kept thinking about like, what if that kid's parent says no? Like I'm getting bummed out for that kid who just went through this and may not get that wand, you know. But you know, it's a business, whatever. Like, we're not here to complain about how Universal Studios operates as a whole.
No.
Because, I mean, everything else, like, pretty spot on.
Yep.
There was good stuff in there. When I went the second time, Matt, I went in November, and Valerie and myself went down there. And this is just after finishing the second book.
Yes.
Before we had started the third book. So I had some context going into it. I had a knowledge base to pull from.
You knew the third member of the trio.
I knew Ron's name quite well at this point.
Yes.
So going there a second time, even a few months apart, was such a different experience. You know, seeing the train, the Hogwarts Express. Right off the bat, I'm like, I know why that's important. You know,
it's true.
That's a thing. And again, there was still a lot of stuff I didn't know. The wanted poster, the hippogriff, the book, the biting book, like all of this stuff, like I didn't know directly.
Yep.
But I still felt like it fit into the world that I was starting to learn about.
Yeah.
Nothing seemed misplaced. My favorite was walking through the castle, the Hogwarts.
Yeah, I know you've mentioned this to me before.
Yeah.
Like, a lot more in there starts to make sense. That, like, I still know there are a lot of things in that like, they cram so much into that castle because that, I mean, honestly, that line midday takes forever to get through. Mm-hmm. You'll be very glad that you have so much to look at.
Right.
But there's still so much that you have no clue what it is.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
But at the same time, just reading the first two books, you, like I said, you did pick up on a lot more.
I was starting to piece some things together. There were things that I could at least figure out what they could possibly represent or mean or be important for a certain reason. Now, I will
Sure.
say we didn't actually get to ride the ride because it broke down right before we were about to get on it. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to stand here and wait because we've already waited almost an hour in this line as it is to get to this point. They had no idea when it was going to start back up. So I'm just like, no, we're done. Like, get out of here. But we made it through almost the entire way. So I was like, at the very least, we got to experience Hogwarts. And I got to enjoy everything about it. Like, that was almost as good as the ride itself in a weird way.
Yeah, it could just about be a separate attraction if they just set up the Hogwarts castle, said there's no ride, there's no food, there's no
Just walk
shops.
through at your leisure.
Like this is just a replica of the Hogwarts castle and everything in it. People would walk through that constantly.
Oh my god, like a haunted house minus the haunted house.
Yeah,
Well, except for the cellar down where the Death Day celebration is going on.
oh yeah,
You'd have to peek your head into that room.
yes,
I mean, if Disney could do it with the Haunted Mansion, they could make one room feel like there's some ghosts floating around, right?
absolutely.
But yeah, like just walking through Hogwarts would be an experience. Like the ride is almost unnecessary at that point. So I was enjoying everything. My absolute favorite part, and see, this is where I don't remember if we actually went through it or because the line was short, we managed to skip over it. But when we went through the gardening area,
Yep,
did we go through that the first time?
we did.
Was it just really quickly?
Yeah, because that's like the very back part of the line. Like it's before you get into the castle proper.
Right.
But yeah, you always have to walk through it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I definitely don't remember it the first time, or I just didn't care, pay attention to anything.
Yeah, there was no line at that point. Like
Yeah.
we had to walk halfway through the castle before we got to any sort of line.
Yeah, we were just kind of hustling through.
Yeah.
But my favorite part was the mandrakes.
Yes.
I saw them in the cage. I'm like, oh, it's the mandrakes. This is amazing. I wanted to harvest them, Matt, but I didn't have earmuffs, so I left them alone.
Yeah, that's a good call.
Yeah. But yeah, like there was just so many little details that I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, hey, there's the fat lady. I would bet that Sir Cadogan is probably in there somewhere,
It's possible.
but I don't remember him specifically. Again, because we weren't really.
Yeah.
Was he introduced in the second book or the third book?
No, he would have been third book.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, you wouldn't have known him yet.
Right. So I would have seen, just a guy, a knight, if he
Yep.
was there, and nothing. So there's like a lot of fun things, a lot of fun details that I was managed to pick out and enjoy much more with context the second time around. Like I can't imagine what it would be like with the full series of knowledge under my belt,
Yep.
Like for you and Jason, like you're probably going through and just like, oh, that's that, oh, that's from that, this is when this happened, and so on and so forth. So
Yeah. Exactly.
one day, Matt, one day.
Yeah. Like I said, we are at a minimum. If we don't get down before this point, at a minimum, after we finish book 7, we need to get you down to Orlando, so you can not only experience Hogsmeade once again, but get the Diagon Alley experience as well, because you'll be able to just appreciate everything so much more.
I need to find out why there's a dragon on a rooftop.
we already said there's dragons.
I know, but why is that dragon there?
Yeah.
Which dragon? Is that a dragon we already know? Is it a new dragon? What's it doing on top of the bank? I don't know. I feel like something's going on.
Yeah. You'll definitely be able to find out.
And that's just from pictures, Matt. Like, you can't get mad at me for seeing a picture
I know.
of a theme
I
park.
know. That's stuff that other people, mutual acquaintances, have posted. I know. I've seen the pictures. So I know you're not hunting this stuff down.
No.
It's just comes across your timeline.
Yep. But, without context, again, we know there's dragons. That's not a surprise. I know about the bank. That's not a surprise.
Yep.
Kind of surprised that there's a dragon there. I'm going to be real honest with you.
You don't remember there being a dragon at the bank.
I don't think that's ever been described, no.
No.
I feel like that would have been a talking point between somebody.
Just have goblins at the bank. So.
Yeah. So, is this a bad thing that there's a dragon at the bank? Is it a good thing? A lot to learn about this, but I am fascinated by seeing a dragon on top of a building at a theme park.
Yeah, it's definitely a highlight for a lot of people.
Yeah, I imagine so. With good reason, I bet. Another thing that I experienced the second time around, which I definitely did not the first time, was I went into the bathroom inside the Harry Potter park.
Yeah, I always forget about this part.
Yeah. For some reason, it just didn't happen while we were there the first time. I used another restroom somewhere else in the park, whatever. But going in the second time, I walk in and everything's fine. It's a normal restroom, you would think. And then I heard it, Matt.
Yep.
I heard a voice. And there was somebody talking. A very distinct voice. One that you can't forget. One that you can't overlook.
Especially if you've seen the movies.
Yeah, especially if you've seen the movies. That was Moaning Myrtle.
Yeah.
Hilarious that they added that detail into the restrooms.
Yep.
It's so perfect.
A little bit off-putting, especially in the guy's bathroom the first time you hear it.
Very creepy.
But once you put it in context and realize, oh, got it. All right. I see what you did there.
Sure. Like, once you know it's Moaning Myrtle, you're like, okay, good job. But like, I'm trying to put myself in the position of like what other people going to the restrooms that like maybe they're bringing their kids and they don't really have much knowledge of Harry Potter and they've maybe watched the movies with them but haven't paid much attention or whatever the case is.
Or, honestly, I really wonder what would have happened like your first time there.
Yeah.
If you had heard that.
Right. I would have came out with some questions, Matt.
Yep.
We would have had a serious talk after that. I enjoyed the candy shop much more.
Yeah, I'm sure you did.
It's still one of like the most packed places there.
Absolutely,
like, it's hard to maneuver in there.
I'm sure that place never dies down.
Yeah,
I mean, there isn't a lot of room to begin with. It's not real big, but they do what they have to.
Sure,
and they get the people in and out, and apparently have plenty of product. I don't know when they restock.
Oh, we saw them restocking. They come in with giant carts full of stock, and they're just constantly just bringing stuff in.
Yeah, I figured they must because like the shelves aren't that huge. Like I said, it's not that big of a shop, but they're constantly selling things.
Yeah, and the carts they brought in were just jam packed full of stuff, and these were big carts, and suddenly the little amount of room that you had in there as a customer before is reduced tenfold by these giant carts being in there restocking stuff.
Please tell me they were themed carts like the witch on the train.
No.
Oh,
no.
That missed opportunity.
A little bit. Maybe it was and I didn't pay attention, but no, I don't think so. They seemed like just regular carts full of stuff.
Especially if you had actors pushing the carts around and offering stuff people off the cart. Like
great.
Yeah. I mean, they restock the shelves. Yeah, that would be good. That'd be the way to do it.
But, then they probably never get the shelves restocked at that point. Because there would be no plug in them.
But it doesn't matter as long as they're continuously selling product.
That's true.
They wouldn't really care if they sell it straight off the cart or straight off the shelf.
Yeah, I guess you're right. But, like seeing like the chocolate frogs and the every flavor beans and whatnot, like it was fun. Like knowing what that stuff was, everybody's like getting excited about while they're in there the first time. Walking through like the gift shops itself, like seeing the different house colors and representations, I'm like, I understand because
like even that makes more sense. Yeah.
Well, yeah, like when I was buying souvenirs the first time around, I had to ask you which colors represented which house.
It's true.
I didn't know.
A lot of times they just use colors and oftentimes the animal logo, but they don't always have the house printed on it.
No, definitely
name.
not named specifically.
Yeah.
So I was like, Matt, what color is Gryffindor? You're like, it's the red. Duh. Sorry, Matt. I did not get a wand my second time.
Really?
Now the first time I got Val her Hermione wand, and I went through the whole process of I just need to let the wand pick me. I'm not here. I didn't know any characters other than Ron, Hermione, and Todd, and and Voldemort, of course. I knew that name.
Yeah. I would have been. I mean,
I knew he was the bad guy.
As long as you knew Harry Potter's name, you almost have to know Voldemort's name.
Well, yeah. I mean, mainly Lego Dimensions.
Sure.
But like also like it's kind of synonymous with the series. Like you can't
Exactly.
really avoid the name that you should not speak anyway. So like I went through the whole process, not knowing any of the characters, what anything meant, and I was just trying to let the wand speak to me. And the first time around, I got picked by a Death Eater wand.
It's true.
Which I still proudly own.
That's good.
Yeah. I know nothing about what or who a Death Eater is.
It's true. We have not encountered a Death Eater yet.
Right. So I don't know what's up with the wand. I don't know if this is a good thing. I mean, obviously, the sound of the name doesn't really imply good things.
You wouldn't think so.
But then again, JK is full of surprises. So I'm going to just ride that one out until I know for sure. But like, I got some awkward stares buying a Death Eater wand. There were some people questioning my choice. And, like I had to explain, it's not my choice.
Yes.
The wand chose me here. So the second time I went, I'm like, okay, I feel like another wand. I want to start building this collection of wands. And finally, I know a larger portion of names that I'm seeing.
Yes.
Still a lot of names completely unfamiliar with.
Yeah, I am still amazed at how many different wands they've created.
Yeah.
And that they actually stock regularly in that park. Like,
sure.
They're obviously, you don't know all of them yet, as you just stated, but like the cast of Harry Potter just keeps growing and growing, and we
get a new teacher every year, Matt.
they have wands in that shop that I never would have expected them to have.
Okay, that's exciting. I'm going to let you in on a little secret.
Yeah.
I went there looking for a specific wand.
Really?
Right. I figured a wand had already chose me, so now it's my time to choose a wand.
Okay.
I wasn't replacing the one I had. I was just adding to the collection.
Backup wand, if you will.
A backup wand. And I couldn't find it. And it may be there, and I just missed it because, let's be real, that wand shop is pretty overwhelming.
It can be.
Especially with a lot of people in there, and like the kiosks outside that sell the wands, they have like the most popular of the wands for sale.
Yeah.
They don't have the full selection.
I doubt it.
Yeah, so it's very possible this wand was in the wand shop somewhere, and I just could not find it, or I missed it, or whatever the case is.
Okay.
I was kind of looking for a Lockhart wand.
They absolutely have to have Lockhart, I think.
That's what I thought, too.
I can't imagine that they don't.
But then again, I'm like, well, who really likes Lockhart and who's buying his wands? So maybe that's just a waste of material,
Yeah.
I probably bought the one and only Death Eater wand they've ever sold in the entire history of Wizarding World. Maybe I'm, looking for something that just flat out doesn't exist. But like Lockhart was like a pretty big character in the second book, so I figured he would get a little bit of love there, but I couldn't find it.
Interesting. I'll definitely have to keep an eye out for that.
So after looking at all the other wands, I was like, Harry's wand it's nothing exciting. It's pretty bland. I was taking a peek at Ron's wand. Ron's wand was intriguing.
Yeah.
Just because I have a little bit of a connection with Ron. Definitely don't have a Lee Jordan wand. That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
So like of all the like the wands that were left, like there was a lot of characters I didn't know about, and now that I had started this journey, like the Death Eater wand came before the podcast started. But this new wand was going to be after the journey had begun. So it felt disingenuous to go with a wand of a character I wasn't introduced to yet.
Sure.
So I was trying to pick from the characters I knew and were familiar with. But it just, nothing was screaming at me, Matt. Nothing was happening there. So, I don't know. What I really want, here's what I really want, Matt.
What's that?
And, it's a crying shame that this doesn't exist, because I really feel like it might be their bestseller. By a long mile.
What would that be?
Hagrid's pink umbrella wand.
I could see that. I think that their biggest problem is it doesn't fit in the box.
Right. Well, you got to be a little bit special for Hagrid related things.
Yeah.
You got to think outside the box, Matt, if you will.
Huh.
And I don't even need it to be a functioning umbrella, right? I just want a pink umbrella that has a wand hidden inside of it. And,
sure.
I would have carried that sucker around the entire park,
Yeah, absolutely.
So I feel like there's a little bit of a missed opportunity there.
And if it was a functioning umbrella?
Even better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially that day, because it was raining.
Raining in California, it doesn't do that.
It was like the one day it was raining in like a matter of like a 2-month span,
Yep.
Just our luck. But I would have killed for a pink umbrella at that point.
Sure.
Nothing. Like, even if they don't sell it at the wand shop because it's too big, like maybe one of the gift shops, the shop that's at Hogwarts right after you get off the ride, like that's big enough to hold some pink umbrellas.
Yeah, that would be a good place for it. Yeah.
So Universal, you need to step up your game. But I didn't get a second wand, so next
Fair
time,
enough.
I hope to have more of a backlog of characters to choose from.
Yeah, you definitely will, but I mean, unless you're going next week or something.
Yeah, not that I know of, but stranger things have happened, Matt.
Sure.
I mean, we started a podcast about Harry Potter, so who saw that coming?
Yeah.
I mean, other than that, like my second trip was just seeing all of the same stuff, but having context for it all, which made it more enjoyable for me.
I'm glad.
As a fan, not just as like I'm with my buddies and they're having a good time, so I'm having a good time, but like I am seeing stuff that I know, and this is really fun. So, and Val loved it. Like she loved every bit of it. So,
that was her first time.
Definitely her first time. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. First time to Universal Studios. Period. So.
Fair enough.
Yeah, she loved it. That was the first thing we did. Even after we did that, we did the rest of Universal Studios. We came back and we walked through it again, just to kind of just soak it in and absorb it. Like, yeah, we're leaving. So let's make another trip down the street here real quick. So,
yeah.
Overall, I say that there are probably people that go to Universal Studios just for the Wizarding World of Harry Potter.
I would agree.
I feel like it may be a bit tough to spend all day just at Harry Potter.
I would also agree with that.
But then again,
especially in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Where you only have half of it.
Right. From what I hear, I mean,
well, like it's if you just allow yourself one day, if you're just trying to fill one day, then Orlando with both parts of the park, you could probably spend the whole day.
Okay.
In Hollywood with just Hogsmeade, if you wanted to,
you could.
You could.
Yeah.
But you would cover every square inch of that place, and you would have looked at every piece of memorabilia. And
right.
Yeah, it like you'd see a lot of things more than once.
Thankfully, you could go everywhere else at Universal Studios with the price of admission to Wizarding World of Harry Potter.
Exactly.
Yeah. But if you're a fan of Harry Potter and you're anywhere near Hollywood, and definitely Orlando, it is definitely worth the trip to see it and experience it.
Yes, absolutely.
So I think that's the grand conclusion of this this entire discussion of, if you can, make it happen.
I would agree.
But it's definitely not like Disneyland. Like, you don't need several days to experience everything that's there.
No.
Like, if you have one day, that's all you need at Universal.
Yeah, you can get it done in a day easily.
Yeah. That's a good talk, Matt.
I would agree. Yes. Quick Googling.
Yeah.
Seems to indicate that I may be mistaken
About
the wand.
Oh.
Yeah. So I'm not sure how up to date their website is, but
Sure.
like they have the Universal store with all the wands that I believe are all the wands that are in the shop, and there is no Gilderoy Lockhart. Thank you. There is no Lockhart wand listed here.
Huh.
And I went even one step further to a place I will ask you not to go right now. But for everybody else out there, if you're unaware of it, Noble Collection, they are a fantastic movie replica company that has been doing Harry Potter for many, many years now. And they have so many things that I want, but I just don't have the money for. In any case, they have even a larger selection of wands, and they don't have a Lockhart. So I'm starting to wonder if there was some problem with the rights or what is going on that they decided not to make Lockhart. Like, he definitely had a wand.
Yeah. Maybe he's just that miserable of a character.
He lost it, but like I don't know. It just seems really weird, especially with looking at all the other wands they have.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like they should have his.
They probably have a Lupin wand, right?
Yeah, they do have a Lupin.
Does Professor Trelawney have a wand? I mean, I would assume so.
Yeah, I mean, she's a witch, so she has a wand.
Okay, they just haven't described her using it in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I mean, because for her classes, you don't really use a wand.
Right.
It's kind of like in potions, you don't talk about wands.
Yeah, that's true. But you still know Snape has one.
Well, you assume. Have you ever seen it?
Yeah. In the duel.
Okay, there you go.
Okay. You started making me crazy. I'm like, no, I've definitely seen it somewhere.
No. Like, I know he has one. I was trying to think if you had actually seen it. So, yeah. But yeah. Sure. Yeah. So if anybody out there knows anything about Lockhart's wand and why they may or may not have it, or if I'm missing something, I would love to know.
Yeah.
Maybe send me a private email, especially if there's some reason you think that information should be kept away from Josh. But in any case,
Does Lockhart come back to the story, Matt?
You never know. You never know.
Almost got something. Almost. Well, I think that pretty much wraps up round 3 of Butterbeer Banter.
Think that'd be pretty good.
Tales from Godric's Hollow. You can find me personally on Twitter at The Noise. Be sure to follow the show on Twitter at Tales from GH. And if you'd like to support us and what we're doing here, for you guys, the community out there, which we can't thank you enough for being such an awesome community so far, you can do so over at Patreon, patreon.com/Tales from Godric's Hollow. And Matt, where can people find you at?
Well, first I'd like to mention that, of course, I mean, if you're listening to this episode, it's probably too late. But if you'd like to hear these episodes early, you should also head over to Patreon, because that's, I believe, I think that's our lowest reward, actually.
I think so, yes. Yeah, the first tier.
The first tier, you can get early access to these episodes in the future. But in any case, you can get a hold of me personally on Twitter at As a Matter of Matt. Or, like I said, if you want to write the show, if you have any information about Lockhart's Wand, feel free to write me at talesfromgodricshollow@gmail.com.
Also, you know what? I want to put a call out for emails about your guys' experiences at the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. Whether it be Orlando or Hollywood, what you liked, what you maybe didn't like, anything that we missed, anything that like really stuck out to you. I want to hear your guys. You know, everybody out there is traveling in some way, shape, or form. I'm sure several of you have been to one of the two locations. So let us know. Write Matt an email, and maybe we'll have like an additional bonus round of Butterbeer Banter, just going through your guys' emails and talking about your guys' experience with it. So
absolutely, I'd be up for it.
Yeah. But until next week, Matt, when we go back to the regularly scheduled program, as we read through Prisoner of Azkaban, we'll be hitting chapters 17 and 18, correct?
That sounds right.
Yes. Also, there might be something special coming this week.
It's true.
Just keep your eyes and ears out for something even more special than usual from us. But definitely, until next time, cheers and muggle out.
Mischief managed.